If you didn't notice, this is Bean. We're going to be talking about Bean and how we adopted Bean. But first, whenever I put Bean on my lap, she's got to greet me with lots of kisses. That's a typical Bean greeting. Bean is a mix between some sort of pit bull and a Labrador. And she's super affectionate. She's probably, I don't know, 15 weeks old right now. So we're going to tell you the story of how we ended up adopting Bean. So a little background. My wife Pam, whom you'll hear from in just a moment, and I have been together for almost 24 years, and for almost 20 years of that, we've had dogs in our family. Our first two were corgis, and we purchased them from a wonderful breeder in Pennsylvania, and we love corgis. But about, I don't know, a few years into having our second corgi, Pam thought, okay, she's a little bit of a nibbler as well, thought, why don't we get another dog? Like, okay. So we ended up adopting from a shelter, actually a group called Lucky Dog in the Washington, D.C. area, which is where we lived in Alexandria, Virginia. We ended up adopting a dog from a kill shelter in South Carolina. And she was part Chihuahua. And we named her Wiggy Wig. And Wiggy Wig was a part of our family for, gosh, almost 15 years. Wonderful, wonderful dog. And it was our first experience with a really little dog. Pam used to joke that I traded away my man card when we got a Chihuahua. So we had a little dog, and we walked her and babied her and loved her, and she slept in the bed with us like our other dogs, and was a wonderful dog. So as our corgis aged out and passed, we got some more shelter dogs, and we would always have 2 to 3 dogs in the house. And we moved here to the Northeast Ohio area, and we had, she's jumping down, and the reason she's jumping down is because she hears mama. So we moved here to the Northeast Ohio area. We had a couple of little dogs, Wiggy Wig, and then another one called Mickey. Wiggy Wig just aged out. She began to have serious seizures, and ultimately we had to put her down. And then Mickey got a severe case of diabetes, and didn't last long. So we got another dog, another shelter dog, which you'll meet at some point in this video, which we've named Peanut. And we had, and then we adopted another dog. So now we're, bringing the crew back, right? Which another one you'll meet named Savannah. The formal name is Savannah Dana Bobana. I refer to her as Pickle Dickle Mo Mickle. You have to have proper names for dogs. So she responds to Pick or Pickle. Pam insists on calling her Savannah, but she responds to all of them. So that's our Chihuahua, a little Barky, whom you'll see in just a moment. And so around Thanksgiving of 2023, Pam said, I'd like to adopt another dog. And part of the secret to happy marriage is key to a happy life is a happy wife. And I said, yes, dear. And so we went, the first shelter we visited is the Cleveland Animal Protective League, CAPL. We refer to them by their acronym, CAPL. Marvelous staff. We worked with a young lady there named Autumn, who was super helpful, super knowledgeable about dogs. And she introduced us to a couple of dogs that we thought might work within our home. One was a little bit big, beautiful, beautiful animal that was subsequently adopted. Then we got a small dog, but when meet and greet time came, we brought Savannah, our Chihuahua, and she just wasn't having it. So we said, okay, that's not going to work out. So, we were disappointed, but we thought, we'll just keep trying. So Christmas morning came, and Pam wanted to know, where the little 4-footed furry creature was under the tree. She says, "I'm looking for my puppy." And I said, "Sweetheart, we don't have a puppy, but we can go looking tomorrow." So on the 26th of December, we went to another shelter, the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter, which actually is just a shelter for dogs. And we drove, gosh, it was almost a half an hour from our home. And when we got there, we were pleasantly surprised. It's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful building. I had visions of animal shelters being, these kind of places with, fences and, dogs running around and looking kind of scraggly and whatever. It's not that way at all. It's a beautiful, beautiful shelter. So we walked in, big reception area, and they said, ask how they could be helpful. And we said, "Oh, we're here to adopt a dog." And they said, "Great, just go through those double doors and you can see all the dogs there. Just don't put your hands in the crates." We said, "Okay." So we walked on back, and they have room, I believe, for 111 dogs. They were down a little bit on the 26th, but they have a special room for small dogs. And so we went over to that room, and there were 2 dogs in crates, cute, cute small dogs. But both of them had been adopted, and they were just waiting for their new forever home owners to pick them up. So we didn't find a dog that, we were looking again for a small dog. So we walked out front, and we were standing there in the reception area just talking to the staff a little bit, putting our stuff together, getting ready to leave. It was cold. Got our coats on, got everything ready to go, and then just like a Hollywood movie, the doors in the back opened up, and in walks the staff member smiling, and in his arms is this moving bundle of fur. And he said, "Look what we just rescued this morning." And it was this little black puppy that someone had, I kid you not, this is what they told us, had thrown away in a Tupperware container. And a neighbor apparently saw the dog in the Tupperware container and called the animal shelter, and they came out and rescued her and washed her up and brought her out front. And I mean, they literally had just taken her, out of the bath and dried her off, and they brought her up front and looked at me and smiled and said, "Would you like to hold her?" Well, who doesn't want to hold a puppy, right? So I grabbed her, and she was, just like you saw earlier, in my arms and licking me and being an adorable puppy. And one of the staff members said, "We name all our dogs here. Would you name her, please?" And so I tossed out one name, which there's already a dog by that name. And so the second name that just kind of flew into my head was Bean. And don't ask me why. Maybe it's because she was like a Mexican jumping bean. I grew up and spent a lot of my time in Texas. I don't know, but I named her Bean, and they said, "Bean it is." And then they said, would you like to play with her for a little bit?" And we said, "Well, sure." So we took our coats off, and we went into this room they have for families that are considering adopting a dog. This is where you get to meet the dog. And so we went into that room and had Bean, and Bean is running around and just being an adorable puppy. And another member of the staff came in and said, "Are you interested in adopting?" We said, "Yes, we are." So she took all our information down and filled out all the forms and everything. And we said, "Well, what's the process of adopting? Could we adopt Bean?" And she said, "Well, Bean, needs to be fostered first, because our process here is they need to go through a series of shots, and then she needs to be spayed and microchipped, and then she's available for adoption." And she said that process is about 6 to 8 weeks. And then after that, she can be adopted. And so I said, "Well, I guess how do we get in line to, be an adoptive candidate, right?" assuming that somebody else was going to foster her. And she goes, well, do you want to foster her? And we said, well, sure, we'd love to foster her. But can we foster and then adopt her? And they said, absolutely. We call that foster to adopt. So you can hear them playing in the background here. This is a very active house. So we said, sure. So they said, look, we need to give, the city allows the original owner of the animal 4 days to come claim it from the pound. So that if there's been, mistake on the part of the owner and they want to claim the dog and come back, then they can. So for now, you need to go home and then come back. This was on a Tuesday. You need to come back on Saturday. And we open up at 10 o'clock, and then you can pick up Bean and take her home as a foster, assuming that the original owners don't come back. And so we said, okay. So we got in the car and kind of looked at each other going, well, this is a Pit Bull Labrador mix. She's only going to be little for a while. She's going to grow into a pretty decent sized dog, in the world of dog ownership. I mean, she'd be called a medium sized dog. And so on Saturday, we got there at 10:30, and Bean was all ready for us. And we learned that there were 2 other families that were in line to adopt Bean if for some reason we had chosen not to adopt her, that she had adoptive parents, adoptive families ready to go. And so we scooped up our little bundle and cutie and took her home. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pam to talk about what life with Bean has been like, because it's been an adventure. And we're going to be talking a lot about Bean on this channel, and we're going to be doing regular Bean updates because we think the story and our experiences that we have with Bean are probably informative of other people who want to adopt a shelter dog. Not all of them are puppies, of course. We just got fortunate, I guess. You could say fortunate. I mean, there's been some challenges, and there are some challenges having a puppy in the house as opposed to a grown dog. But let me turn it over to Pam and let her tell you a little bit about what life has been like with Bean.
Hi, I'm Pam, the other half of Shelters to Snuggles, and as Mark said, we've adopted Bean. So now you know how she came into our family, and let me tell you about life with Bean. And the first thing is when we got her, and as of December, the end of December, and when we picked her up, she was 10 pounds. Right now, we believe, and she's due for her next round of shots this coming week, she's about 20 pounds. So to say the least, we have a very growing Bean. Now, as Mark said, we were looking for a little dog, sort of, 7 pounds or so. And in about a few weeks, we have a 20-pound puppy. She is all puppy. She's just delightful. She is, when you call her name, she'll jump on your lap. Yes, she can now jump on your lap and give you big kisses on your face. She's just a big love. She also knows her name, and she's learning to sit, lay down. She does what they call come when called. The thing that you have to get used to is that anything that's not nailed down, and if some things are even nailed down, they end up getting tugged away. And you suddenly see things all across the floor. As in, yes, for sure, they do go after toilet paper. And you see that pulled down. They go after socks, they go after shoes, and you just have to watch. And Bean has a little gait that she's so proud of herself when she gets something that is not a toy. Then she sort of swaggers down the hallway with a sock or a shoe and goes, hey, look what I just got. She is growing. You have to feed, you give her puppy chow, and she definitely chows down the puppy chow. Absolutely love it. And the good thing, though, and they always tell you to watch out for this with puppies, is she's not food aggressive. So when we feed the other dogs are jealous because Bean gets lunch, but Bean will just sit down and look and see if anybody hasn't finished their food. If they haven't, then she's right in there to get the leftovers. So we're excited to have her. We will keep you updated. Let me tell you this, there is nothing like coming home to a puppy who is so excited to see you and is just wagging her tail, jumping up, just has those little ears up and those eyes. And oh, by the way, she has, if you have noticed the pictures of Beans, she's got a face that will melt the world. So as we say on our channel, from shelters to snuggies, a shelter dog is one of the best members you will ever bring in to your family. This is Pam signing off for Shelters to Snuggies.
Outside. Looking for an escape route. I know you.